Hey guys. Yeah, it's been a while, but we are finally continuing the fighting game. On day 1 I wanted to do some ping compensation because that's really important in multiplayer games. So firstly I made a hitbox trail which already gave me some trouble, but I got it figured out eventually. Now the idea is that the server is gonna keep track of the player's ping, and when they attack it's gonna pick out the most accurate hitbox from the enemy's trail. For example, if I have 200 ping and I attack, the server is gonna attack the hitboxes that are 200 milliseconds in the past. Now does this work the way I imagined it would? Well, I don't know, because Roblox's ping simulation is completely buns. So all I can do is pray, because it took me like 2 hours and I don't wanna scrap it. On day 2 I made the crosshairs smaller because these guys said they were a bit too distracting, and I completely agree. It's day 3, which means it's been 2 days and I did nothing interesting so far, so I think it's time to change that. Today I got started on the ability for the spiky thing. I made this super spiky spike in Blender and placed it on the normal spikes to create this boosted spiky thing. After that I rigged it and this is how it looked. And to finish it off, I welded it to the third person variation. On day 4 I made the spikes show up while holding the right click and made the animation for the ability along with the third person version. I know it might seem like that we are just having a stroke right now, and that's because we are, but you'll see why I made it like this. It's time to finally make the ability. As you saw from the animation, I completely reworked this ability because instead of punching a blue hand, I shoot the super spiky spikes that appear. It wasn't that hard to add since I just had to reuse the code from the shurikens. On day 6 I made the ability model for the shuriken, that's it. Day 7. Today I made the ability toggle thing for the shurikens. As you can see, 2 of them just start flying and also this big shuriken appears. I know it looks kinda ugly and unpolished, but it's even worse in third person. On day 8 I made the ability function by throwing the big shuriken instead of the 3 small ones. I started day 9 by making some crosshairs for the abilities. After that I made an inventory that displays which slot I have currently equipped. I also made the attack bar blue when using the ability to indicate that it will consume something. After that I brought back the health bar from the previous game, and as you can see it works perfectly. Lastly I added this blue bar that will be important later, but for now its use is a secret. On day 10 I got started on the first ability. Firstly I made this particle for the hands using... I'm not saying it. After that I made an equip animation and now we can equip it. You might notice this very obvious blue bubble around me, but don't worry, it's just the attack radius. I don't know why I put this in the script. On day 11 I made this attack animation, and as you can see I kinda just do a little clap. After that I made this white circle not using Roblox's particle system because it's literally just a sphere that I scale up. Lastly I made it damage and knock back enemies and it was done. On day 12 I made this stone with a shield icon, which will be our second ability. After that I did the boring task of getting it to actually work in game, and this is how it looked. On day 13 I made this attack animation for this stone, and while making the third person version the animation editor just stopped working. Make sure to tell me in the comments if you've ever seen it. Now coding it in was actually pretty easy since I just had to increase the player's shield, is what I would say if I actually had a shield system. At least we don't have to worry about this ever again. Lastly, I made this bar with a cool gradient that shows how many shield I have, and with that the second ability was done. I'm so sorry for this sound effect. Remember the blue bar from day 9? Well, today I decided to give it some functionality. If you've seen the first 2 parts you might recognize this as the blue bar. Maybe because it literally is a blue bar. But if you don't know what that did, it basically limited the use of abilities. So I just did the same thing for this game. Lastly, I added these super ugly renders for the weapons and abilities. With all of that out of the way, it was finally time to move on to something I have a little bit less experience with: building. On day 15 I made this Japanese house, and honestly making it was actually pretty fun. On day 16 I made a bigger Japanese house, and making it was once again pretty fun. It was looking a bit bland with this brown color palette, so I decided to make another version with brighter colors, and I think it looks a lot better. On day 17 it was time to finish the build. I started by making the terrain from parts and converting it to actual terrain. After that I placed the houses, but it was still a bit empty, so I made some trees with the help of Paul 1 RB's tutorial, and it was looking a lot more complete. On day 18 I made this lobby thing where the players will spawn, and this play button that makes me leave the lobby. And the best thing is that others won't see it because it's spawned locally. On day 19 I made this loadout changer tab that lets me change my loadout. For now I can only switch the two abilities because I only have one melee and ranged weapon, and you cannot really switch something with itself to my knowledge. On day 20 I made these two skins. Moving on day 21 I made this auto resizing thing for the scrolling frames. And the resizing part was fairly easy to add, but getting the buttons to stay the right size was something I just wasn't able to do. But then I remembered that I can just add a UI aspect ratio constraint into the grid layout, which fixes everything. After that I made this skin changer tab with some really high quality renders. But of course it doesn't work yet. So on day 22 I made it work by making a custom character loading function. Except the view model is gone now. But thankfully I just had to clone the stuff from the starter character script into the new character. Lastly I made it work in first person by setting the hands color to the same color as the arm of the character. On day 23 I made this little enemy guy. Now I want to make this enemy do three things: follow the player, fight, and respawn. And I heard that the best approach for something like this is meta tables. Basically I'm gonna have a folder with the spawn locations and look through it at the start of the game, and I'm gonna create a table inside of a meta table, which is just a table but meta for each spawn location. And those tables will store information about the enemy, like the appearance, range, and damage. And since they are part of the meta table, the functions created inside the meta table will be able to be called by the tables that we created. If this doesn't make any sense to you, I don't blame you, because to be honest, even I don't know what the f I just said. So I followed Sushi Master's tutorial because he actually knows what he's doing, and I ended up making the enemy fall over continuously when walking. Great! The best fix I could find is making the humanoid run when it's about to fall over, which isn't the best fix, but it's fine for now. Then I remembered that I could just set the network owner to the nearest player. Silly me, how could I ever forget? I started day 24 by duplicating the Spiky Things module and putting it in a folder for the enemy weapons. After that I made a function that creates the weapon for the enemy, which is pretty much the equip function but a bit modified. After that I created 3 more variables inside of the enemy table: a combo, a debounce, and an attack module. And in the block that runs when the enemy is close, I added a debounce check, a debounce reset, a combo increase, a check to make sure the combo isn't higher than the max combo, and finally called the attack function. And just like that, the enemy can finally destroy me in a 1v1. On day 25 I made a white enemy that, instead of beating me to death, throws at me until I die. But you might notice that they just stop caring that I'm behind them if I get close enough. So I carefully inserted an align orientation constraint, which fixed the issue. But there was a problem. You see, I kinda suck and the enemies keep destroying me. So to fix that, on day 26 I made them slower and weaker. Except they were still destroying me. So I also buffed the range of my punch. But guess what, I was still losing. At this point I knew something was up, and I was right. It was the hitbox trail from day 1. So I removed it, and now I can finally destroy these guys. At least I did better than last time. On day 27 I fixed an issue where the shuriken animation wouldn't play the first time the ability is used. It was happening because the script was waiting a set time before stopping the animation, so I just swapped it to instead wait until a certain keyframe is reached. After that I fixed another issue where I just wouldn't respawn when I die, which I did by putting the players back into the lobby when they die. On day 28 I separated the different colored parts of the buildings to make them easier to recolor. And after messing around with the colors a little bit, this is how they looked. a lot better in my opinion. On day 29 I made this game mode changing tab and made the already existing tabs look better. On day 30 I wanted to do something cool, so I decided to make a nice background for the lobby. I kinda just reused some of the assets, but I still like it. Except for the ground. That looks kinda ugly. So to fix that I converted it to terrain every time the lobby is cloned and filled it with air when the lobby is destroyed. And with that the 30 days were up. Now I don't know how to end this video, so I'm probably just gonna cut to the end screen mid-sentence.